I'm Randy Kirk, and I'm here with Brian Wang. And Brian Wang, of course, is our resident science guy and also futurist. I'm like a futurist small f. He's a futurist big F. And we are both actually celebrating this week. Did you know? Do you know what we were celebrating about, Brian?
Celebrating the book, celebrating early Christmas. I don't know.
I think what we're celebrating is the fact that you and I, even Larry Goldberg mentioned it in the show that he's either been a couple of hours ago or will be a couple of hours from now. Larry says, "Well, it sounds to me like you and Brian are right again with regard to where the stock is going to be." And
Right.
so let's get into that right away. Let's talk to me about what happened to the stock market today. I mean, oh my gosh. And what happened to Tesla and why are we now finally solidly in this 250 range? And what happens next?
A 450 range.
I'm sorry. I do that all.
450 range. Yeah, yeah. So it's looking like we've been holding steady and flat for a couple of months. Hitting this 460, 470, 480 levels. And then but the lows have been getting higher on that. So it looks like we're setting up for a breakout. These kind of technical structures look like more of a breakout. And then that aligns, that technical stuff aligns with the fundamentals, which is that Elon says we'll remove the safety monitors in Austin in like 18 days. That December 30th would be roughly when we would achieve that, 3 weeks from December 10th, which that would be, I think, a huge catalyst.
Right,
Yes, true.
100%. So, all right. So you're saying that, so what do you, now that we're actually did this little breakout today and we were completely going counter to the market all day
Yeah,
long from the very beginning, we
right.
were going crazy. And I had this brainstorm though, that maybe this could be the beginning of the street understanding that Tesla is a different kind of AI company, that
Mhm.
all the other AI companies are digital, and
Mhm.
and Tesla is the only one that has
Physical.
products.
Right. So I think that with the breakout, it's looking at 550 to 600. So that seems like the first level above the all-time highs where we'd be at. And if we have the safety monitor being the beginnings of the March to April
Mhm,
of CyberCab,
mhm,
where we have unsupervised at scale,
mhm.
right? At scale well beyond Waymo. So CyberCab production, you're going to start making at least 1,000 a week, right?
Yeah,
2,000 a
yeah.
week, just at a basic level, based on the history. Like even Cybertruck had got to 50, 60,000 units in the first year. And that Cybertruck is 5 times harder to make than a Cybercab, right? So, a simpler, cheaper vehicle that doesn't get to 250,000, would be so 5,000 per week, very, very quickly. 5,000 per week at 20,000 some dollars, let's say $30,000 per vehicle. Then you're looking at um, let me 5,000 times 30,000, 150 million per week, $500 million per month, right?
Right,
At a very low level, right?
right.
So that is a huge commitment of money
Yeah.
that if you're not absolutely sure you have unsupervised fully solved, then how can you do that? And so we have the January, February 10 times the parameter model, more reinforcement learning. So even before we get those other models, we're saying it's good enough to remove the safety monitor. And then to get 10 times better, and then we have the cybercab. So that's the confidence that we can do unsupervised at scale. So that March for the next 4 months, 5 months, is what will be um, the in your face. All the analysts have to say, ARK Invest is right. This is happening. And so then now how they view that knowledge, that now they know scaling has to happen. We have to get to the $3,000 per share. Are they going to say it's going to be 2027 or that 2028? That trajectory would be locked in.
All right. So the other thing that's happening right now is everybody is talking about AI in space. AI data centers in space. You and I had a conversation about it on Wednesday night a little bit. I think you've taken what you said on Wednesday night and really fleshed it out a lot. because this is the big story. This may be
Right.
the biggest story of our life. I mean,
Right. Biggest fear of life,
I,
civilization. Yeah.
I think based on listening to All In podcast, based on listening to the Peter Diamandis, which is an old buddy of yours, I guess you went to Singularity University and everything, and
Yeah.
so
I actually was a lecturer at Singularity
you were a
University.
lecturer at Singularity. Whoa, wait
I
a minute.
gave annual updates on nanotechnology for 4 years, and
Okay,
so I wasn't attending. I was teaching at
teaching.
Singularity University. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm more impressed. Okay.
Okay.
So let's turn over the story to the futurist right now, Brian Wang, who has
Okay.
we want to hear from you, Brian. How does this data center and space thing develop? And before you start, wait a minute. I
Yes.
did some research today because
Hmm.
we've been talking about whether Tesla would be in the making the solar arrays, that they would set up a gigafactory to make solar arrays. I did some research, and at least Grok says that right now those solar arrays are being made by a Taiwanese company. I didn't write down the name, I've got it somewhere.
Yeah.
A Taiwanese company is making the solar panels, if you will, but then they're being sent over to SpaceX, and SpaceX is doing the final assembly themselves.
Right.
Okay, so and they said that, and Grok at least believes that this Taiwan company can definitely expand their production to meet the demand in plenty of time. So it may be that Tesla won't be involved in that part of the game, but that's just one analysis.
Right. I've seen that as well, and that the um, someone, whoever's doing the solar panels for space, um, SpaceX already has the supply chain and the orders in to go up about 20 times from current levels. So the current level is on the order of 50 to 100 megawatts per year,
Okay,
based upon the 3,000 um, Starlink version 2 minis that they're putting up. But they already next year are planning to put the version 3 satellite for communications. This was
yes,
before
yes,
the idea center
yes,
plan. They're
yes,
saying
yes.
communications, we have the FCC approvals. We're going to put up, 30,000 to 50,000, and they will be bigger and better versions of those things. So they had already planned out that they were going to go to about a gigawatt of that. So they're planning to go up 10 times in terms of the
Right,
power
right.
for those satellites. But now Elon has tweeted out that they're going to go from 20 kilowatts per version 3 satellite to 100 or 150 kilowatts because they want to put in the AI data center chips. They need more power versus communications, right? So they had the gigawatt plan, they had the factory supplier, the Taiwanese supplier, the scale up of that. But now they say, okay, we need to go at least, you know, 7 times, 10 times more than that as we up the power levels. But not just doing 50,000 satellites, they're going to go to 1 million. So thus they have to do the IPO because they need to get 10, $20 billion of investment to do the 50 gigawatt centers, which that scale of solar plant exists in China. They have several manufacturers at the 50 gigawatt level,
Mhm.
adding up to 600 gigawatts to a terawatt of solar for Earth-based installation, right? But we're going to make it for space, so you
Thanks.
have to make it lighter, no glass, a bunch of other things that make it lighter. So it's not the same thing, right? So China can't convert their solar to space solar as quickly. One, you have to have a customer, and that would be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
SpaceX
Right,
and doing it. Two, you need to do a bunch of things. And SpaceX has experience.
right.
The only one who has 100 megawatt or more experience with space-based satellites. So they have 9,000 satellites up there. Everyone else ever
Right,
has about 4,000, and
right, right,
and half of those were launched by SpaceX,
right.
right? Half of the other
Other ones,
non-SpaceX
yes,
were launched
right,
by
right,
SpaceX.
right.
So they started before Starlink was up 6 years ago.
Yeah.
There was 2,000 other satellites.
Mm.
And now we have on the order of 13,000, 9,000 of which are SpaceX.
Still,
So in terms of the knowledge of making solar for space at scale, SpaceX is way in the lead beyond China, beyond any other competitor. Um, Okay,
All
go
right.
ahead.
And I have another little minor question before we get into your slides, and that
Yeah.
is with regard to some things Elon has been saying, and I'm not, maybe hopefully you're fully on board on this. Is Elon planning to have the version 3 satellites have both a data chip and the same communications as it would have had anyway? Or is it reducing the amount of communications and putting the data chip in? Or is it, anyway,
Yeah,
what's
reducing the communications.
reducing the
Correct.
communications? Okay.
Reducing communications. So they will still have, so the bulk of the communications currently is for large antennas and arrays, and also the electronics to communicate from space down to Earth, either to a high uh, bandwidth internet connection or to your phone. There's two
Mhm.
different types.
Mhm.
Um, and you have a lot of gear in there. So you would remove on the order of 60 to 80%
Wow.
of what's in there now to put in more chips. There are some chips in there now,
Mhm. Mhm.
like AMD radiation hardened chips. They're about 5% the compute power of an H100.
I see.
But you do not want to use those chips for AI data centers.
Right.
You want to take unmodified regular AI chips straight off the TSMC NVIDIA lines, and then you want to throw them into your box and then send them up there. But you'll still keep 20% of the box that has solar power
Communication.
connections,
Okay.
laser communications, a bunch of other overlap that you want to keep the same. And you want to follow the same designs as you are already going to mass produce. It's like I'm already making 50,000 Model S. I'm going to go to 1 million Model Y. I want to keep commonality of parts wherever I
Mm,
can,
mm.
right? So the same kind of scale up of going from Model S to Model 3 and Model Y is what we're looking to do. And we're going to swap out parts that are needed to do the new use case.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll turn over to you from here to do the slideshow.
Yeah. And then, interject at any
Oh,
point.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me view slideshow. Okay, sorry, went to the back of this thing. Sorry, get back to the beginning. Okay, so we had previously said space AI is bigger than Tesla Optimus, which all the people in our community of Tesla YouTubers, Cern Basher, Herbert, everyone's telling you that Tesla Optimus is the biggest thing ever. It's all labor, right? And I will tell you why that is not the case.
Well,
And
I'm already going to interrupt you because I think not in the Elon Musk mission, but somewhere along the line on this show, many times you said that you thought that Starlink, in all of its versions and everything that it was capable of doing, you believe Starlink and SpaceX was going to be larger than Tesla.
right, larger than Tesla, large opportunity.
Right.
But Tesla's going to go along with this because they're making the chips.
Right. Right.
So Tesla's a firm partner. Also, X and XAI are firm partners in this thing. It'll be split up. The exact ratio will change over time. It could be
Mhm.
50-50 for a while. It could be, 40-30-10, so it'll change as things evolve. But each of the three companies will be major parts doing huge lift. There are scenarios where XAI becomes the biggest one because if you get super intelligence,
Right.
right,
Right. Right.
then their part of the thing becomes more important, right? Okay, so for people that don't know, I replied to Elon about exawatts for AI data center in space, tried to break it down, and then Elon replied to me about lunar factories and mass drivers get to 100 terawatts per year. That sounds like a nice little short statement. It is incredibly profound what that means because the entire Earth, when you go count for 100% power, which none of the power plants do, you have to do a little calculation conversion. The entire Earth right now uses 3.4 terawatts of power per year. So when he says 100 terawatts per year, that is 30 times the entire power of the Earth right now. And he was wanting to do that every year, right? And this is not him, pumping or something like that. These, I believe, are firm plans that they're going to be working towards. And I'll go over in the rest of these slides what that all means.
Okay.
Okay, so everything depends upon Starship. The thing that the Tesla Q and the haters will say, or SpaceX Elon haters will say, oh, it's gone up, it's blown up a few times, blah, blah, blah. 11 launches, 3 times the booster had landed. And how many times has any other company, any other country landed an orbital class booster? It's actually now one.
One,
It's
yeah.
been Blue Origin did it once,
Yeah.
right? And Blue Origin started before SpaceX.
And it's a much smaller beast.
It's a smaller beast, right? And they have not relaunched it yet.
Yeah.
SpaceX has relaunched 500 times. And even the Starship, this Starship failure, has relaunched 2 of the boosters, right? So Starship, the test thing, has already done twice as many, 3 times as many landings of their booster than Blue Origin has, and all other companies and countries combined. And they've relaunched twice, which is double the number of booster relaunches of any other company and countries in the world.
Or infinite, actually, because nobody's ever done it. Yeah.
If you don't include Blue Origin's first thing that they did like a few weeks ago.
Because they haven't relaunched it yet. Yeah. So
they have not relaunched it. That's right. So just the scale of things with the International Space Station, and then the size roughly of the panels, roughly like there's 4 of these double wings on the space station. Actually, there's a bit more. There's some other things. You have a more updated photo of it. And
this is the solar. These are the solar arrays.
Solar arrays on the space station. So the SpaceX, if they go to 150 kilowatts, will have roughly the same size as one of these double wings. Right? Okay. And then a football field to give you some idea how big this is. So it's like the width, over the width of a football field, about 15 yards wide. Okay. Well beyond Optimus, because Optimus is just labor, just all labor, right? The energy on Earth cannot match the energy in space. The sun produces 10 billion times more power than hits the Earth, and we are only using 1/500th, 1/1000th of that equivalent total power that is hitting the Earth. And we need to do all these other things that we're doing, nuclear, oil, natural gas in order to achieve that. So space AI will beat Optimus because the energy cannot be built on Earth. We cannot have enough Optimus to compete against the number of AI chips we're talking about. And I'll go into how many. Roughly on the order of, say, a few billion Optimus versus many, many trillions of AI chips in space, right? So the order of magnitude is 1,000 times more, right? So the example would be, no matter how good your small island is, you cannot compete against the United States. Right. The most successful small city is Singapore. Right. Quite rich, really nice place, 6 million people. The GDP of Singapore cannot compete with the GDP of the United States with 350 million people. Right.
Not even close. Yeah.
Not even close. So AI and energy will grow from 13% of the economy today, energy and that combined, toward 99%. Labor is about 55%, but it's dropping already, and it will drop faster when this happens. So then there'll be a decoupling. When you go fully automated, just like when you go robotaxi fully automated, you will decouple from the human in the loop. The human limitations will go away when you decouple. So just a few slides about why AI will succeed for sure. People always say, oh, what do you use it for? And that kind of stuff. So Grok 4.2, not fully released yet, but they're testing it for the last few weeks, did stock trading. Real money, they did 4 different accounts against 8 other models, including the old Grok 4. The Grok 4 did terrible. It's down from $10,000 to $403 in about less than 30 days, while Grok 4.2 is a leader in pink at plus 35% in less than 30 days. So trading to get that much money, and all the other models have lost money. When you combine all 4 models, all lost money. So the thing is, what is it that they did? One, they tell you exactly why they're in the trade. Why was it holding Palantir, et cetera? It was only trading 6 different stocks and the NASDAQ because they were going with a particular company that has made special derivatives, call option type things, puts, that have 10 to 20 times the leverage, right? 10 to 20 times more risk. and they say, okay, I'm so positive that I will put in a 20 times bet on Palantir, Google, something like that. And they do it for on the order of 10 minutes to 24 hours. So it's day trading type stuff that they're doing.
Mhm.
People who don't know that. They all the models explain what they're doing, and then what does 10 to 20 times risk mean? That if people play roulette, then 36 numbers plus the zeros. You have a 35 times bet if you put one number. Just a little better odds than 20%, 20 times is betting two numbers at a time, right? But two numbers at a time on one spin, I have a 1 in 17 chance of winning. Three numbers is 1 to 11. So if you're doing those kind of bets at the roulette wheel with people who don't do gambling and not degenerate gamblers like me or something like that, then then you would know that if I got a bankroll of $500 and I'm betting $10 per spin, in about 200 spins, you'll be wiped out, right? Just a random luck thing. That's your expectation. About 3 hours of play, you're done, right? If I do three bets at a time, it would take only an hour, right? Because I'm betting $30 at a shot, right? I'm speeding up how fast I'm wiped out. So they're playing 5 different bets at a time, right? Not all their money because they put it in their bankroll, and they're still there like 24, 40 hours later, right? So anyone who knows numbers knows that if you're still there at 6 times, 10 times longer than random, right? This is not random anymore.
Right.
Okay. And it means that they can win day trading completely. How much they win day trading completely? That would be the bottom third row of this thing. It's the software tools for day trading about $10 billion, but the people who are using the software are probably doing 10 times more, right? So it's about 10 to 25% of US equity volume is day trading, right? So you're looking at $500 billion to $1 trillion or more of day trading stuff. This is a huge market.
Yeah.
Right. If it means that for this game, just like winning chess for AI, if you win this game, that is a huge market that you have.
Right.
Way more money than OpenAI's $20 billion, blah, blah, blah. It's conquering a new thing. And then it doesn't mean that they can't get to program trading, high frequency trading, other forms of trading, right?
Yeah.
Once you've mastered one, it's just like a chess computer has mastered blitz chess, it's mastered some form of Go. It will get the rest.
Right.
Right. It's going to happen. Just the history of how these things work. Also, there's a score based on GDP Val tries to get at, can you get the skills and knowledge of someone with 14 years of experience in a particular job? Nursing, doctors, lawyers. And old Grok 4, the inferior one that was losing on the trading thing, did 60% of that. And then the latest OpenAI 4.2, 5.2 GPT, 71%. So all of these models are going to be able to replace many of your jobs. So the fear you have about that, not unfounded, but the main point here is that scaling up AI to 1,000 million times will have massive economic value. Okay, just the main thing is AI useful, conquering big industries. The other big industries, advertising, which Meta and Google have said AI has been helping them to get 20% more productive on advertising. $1 trillion global advertising market, $500 billion for the big tech companies on advertising, right? So that's a big market. And then IT software making, that's about a $5 trillion market, 1.5 for software, another 1.5 for consulting, 1.5 for hardware. So that also can be taken over as well if you get fully automated programming or something like that. So not going to go too much into it, just we can do deeper dives.
But it's interesting also, you've got both sides of that trade as well. So you've got Amazon that is trying to maximize the amount of money they're making from the advertising, but then you've got the advertisers, which would be, I have an Amazon business, and I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that I'm making money using their advertising to sell product, including the new book, by the way. It's also the same thing. You advertise the book, on Amazon and you're hoping that if you put $1 in, you get $1.20 out, not 90 cents.
Yeah.
And so, and it's very complex and complicated to try to figure out how to beat, you know, the other competitors, in that world. But once again, AI would definitely cause you to have new tools.
And then for all the content and all the video, the AI is making videos. Grok 4.1 beta that I've been using. I noticed this morning, I think maybe yesterday, that when I ask a question, oftentimes they would put in pictures with the answer. So it'd have some text answer and it'd have several pictures, like a diagram, a patent photo. It's mixing the pictures. So all of the work that I was doing on my science blog of like, here's the picture to explain it and do that stuff, it's now doing that, right?
Nice. Nice.
And then making videos and short videos, long videos,
Yeah, yeah.
that is happening. So it's all through 2026, expect that to just explode
Right.
and just utterly override anything. So all the content stuff. So again, the value question of AI is not a debate anymore. It is happening. It will happen every $1 trillion. Also, that means the spending, $500 billion going to $1 trillion per year, that will all pay off. You must spend for AI in order to get future business. So that's I want to go over is no AI bubble. The spending will pay off. It's happening right now. It's going to go all over 2026, and they will continue to scale it. One thing, I live in Silicon Valley. One thing Silicon Valley knows that other people in the rest of the world, other cities may not know, is that once the unit economic works, so I can do one e-commerce trade, I can sell one book, and that I can scale that, then you scale it until it stops working. And then that's where you get all the money that I go into multi-trillion dollars because I took one thing that works, that is digital, and then I scale it. OpenAI, they got the attention is all you need paper from Baidu in China, or some other work that was done by Google, and they realized, holy crap, I scale this up 1,000 times, and then I get huge value. So that was them making the bet of this works at some smaller scale. It shows that it gets better and better as I do more. And then I make the bet and say, okay, load up. This is what it is to go exponential, right? So that was what happened before. Other examples that we have. So what I just proved is the first part. There is something to scale.
Right.
It will make money. All we have to do is do more.
Right.
And now I'm going to discuss the scaling part.
Okay.
So, okay, next slide. So now we go beyond AI. It's all going to work. Sorry. Okay, here's the scaling of electricity. In the first while, and yet, Edison, whoever else was working on this stuff, make sure that electricity works. And then they make the first grids. 1915, after the first 25, 30 years of them doing this stuff, they get to a reasonable level, World War I levels, 35 terawatt hours. Look to the bottom of this chart, going every 10 years, and then you have us at 32,000, roughly 1,000 times more than World War I. 110 years later, 1,000 times more. So that can give you some perspective if people can imagine the world of World War I and how much electricity there was to the world we have today and how much electricity we have. That is 1,000 times scale up.
Got it.
Another area to point out would be in the middle of this thing, around 1935, during the Great Depression, is when they, first make the Hoover Dam or something like that. 300-ish terawatt hours went up 10 times. We're up 100 times from there. So that's the scale of 100 times and 1,000 times over the growth of electricity, right? And AI will be the new electricity. So a 1,000 increase World War I, 100 times World War II. AI right now is only 1% of our current energy. So we're only using about the level of electricity that we used for the world for powering other stuff in the Great Depression to power AI, right? So, but then you can only take up so much of the percentage of the world electricity before you have to build a lot more, and that is very difficult on Earth.
As we've been talking about in the book and on a dozen shows.
Right. So the first level goals is what Elon talked about, 100 gigawatts per year. maybe 300 gigawatts per year. If you sustain that for 10 years at the 100 gigawatt level, that's 8,000 terawatt hours. That is double the energy of the United States today, right? Over 10 years. Elon doing that, which he thinks he can start doing in 2030, right? And if he just sustained that level through 2040, he would have double the energy of the United States. You cannot think of any other technology that could to generate power that could double. You end up with, the United States plus the power in space, triple the energy in the United States, right? And 60, 70% of it for AI,
Right.
right? You cannot scale that. You're looking at 40, 50 years in the optimal case for an Earth-based solution. And Elon thinks he can even get to 300 gigawatts per year sometime in the 2030s in this first scale up. And that's 24,000 terawatts. That's double the energy net of China. That is 6 times the power of the United States, right? From that. So again, no other ways to do these kind of numbers. And this is very achievable. I will discuss some of that in terms of launches. But first, this is so profound that we're going from GDP per person to GDP per AI chip. So various calculations can show that you can make $20,000 per year from an AI chip. The world average GDP per person is about $10,000, $12,000 per person. So an AI chip can be twice as productive as the average person on Earth. Obviously, the developed world, the United States, is 4 times higher. So I need 4 chips to equal an average US person. Or I need a better chip in a few years that is 4 times more productive than the previous chip I got. But basically, this transition from GDP per person to GDP per AI chip is where this unleashes everything. And the people kept saying, singularity, we pass through it when AI happens and we can't predict what happens, right? It's not easy because I have to do it. We can say, if I can get to 1 trillion chips, then that is 100 times or more GDP than 10 billion people, right? So how fast this goes, we can actually forecast, which is very useful. If there's ways you can use that information to figure out what's going to happen and how to invest, et cetera. So 100 times more electricity than there is today. So lunar activation, though, so that level, 300 gigawatts for a decade, is 100 times more electricity than the AI uses in the world now, right? So already 100 times more for Elon doing it for a decade, from 2030 to 2040. And then he talked about, his reply to me, if you recall from the beginning, was lunar activation goes to 100 terawatts per year. So that means starting at 1 terawatt for 10 years, we're at 80,000 terawatts over a decade, 3 times current world electricity. 10 terawatts, again, still only 10% of what he thinks he can do with the moon, 800,000 terawatts over a decade, three times more than all world energy every year, 30 times more than over a decade. Go up another 10 times, it's 30 times every year, 300 times more than everything we have now. So it's just impossible for anything on Earth to compete with this, just because there's a million times more resources out in the solar system. We're just doing the entire fraction, just trying to use the moon to do some of this stuff. SpaceX launches, done a bunch of calculations, about 30 megawatts per launch. It will then increase to about 60 megawatts, and there's some stuff you can do to get even beyond that. But just the easy, clearly doable is 30 megawatts per launch, going to 60. So your first 100 gigawatts, say 3,000 launches, then you improve to 60 megawatts per launch, and then you're doing 5,000 improved launches per year to get to the 300. So is that a big number? We have almost 200 launches of Falcon 9 this year. So 3,000 launches is about 20 times more, 15 times more than what we're doing now with Falcon 9. And then 50,000 would be about 25 times more launches. So difficult, but it's actually doable. It would involve more launch towers and other infrastructure, which I've worked out, but too long to go to here. Okay. Just saying that this is doable, difficult, but doable. One of the difficulties is this will need 5 to 10% of the US natural gas in order to make the fuel for the rockets, right? So we have difficulty scaling the rockets beyond this level, right? Because we need so much natural gas for fuel. You can do it, but it gets, again, hard, you probably don't want to. Again, that 300 gigawatts is 3 terawatts per year, 3 billion 1 kilowatt chips over a decade. So that goes to Elon talking about he needs more fabs to make billions of chips.
Right. Right.
We have about 10 million to 20 million AI chips in the world today. We're making about 5 million, maybe 10 million next year. And TSMC wants to scale by 10 times to get to 50 million chips in 2030. So 50 million chips is not 3 billion, right? That's what he says he can't get enough chips. That's what he's talking about. They need to get more. They can scale up their factories more. They have to dedicate the factories. They need to go all out on lines. There's, again, supply chain scaling, because I'm going from a particular level up to 100 times more. So you have to scale the supply chain. It's just a factory thing. And this is, again, 100 times more electricity than we have. So supply chain on the wafers, supply chain on the fab line, the fab equipment, a lot of scaling. So launching from the moon, that Starship launch problem, too much natural gas needed to make the fuel. No satellite launches, no satellite Starships will be launched after the factory and the fabs are made on the moon. You'll still be doing stuff, shuttling other things, but the limitation of using rockets to take the fabs that you make either on Earth or the moon where you need them to go, you won't need rockets to do that anymore. You will use a mass driver, which is a magnetic track to do it. Again, I've gone to details. Think about, if people know that there's magnetic levitation trains. There's a train that goes from Shanghai Airport to Pudong, another sub-city within Shanghai, over like several dozen miles. That magnetic levitation train is comparable to the kind of mass driver you'd be using. You want to get up to about 2.8 kilometers per second to escape lunar gravity versus 9.8. So you get to 25% of the speed of Earth, 1/16th of the energy that you would need. And you can do that with these kind of mass drivers. So fair bit of engineering to do it. Another video to discuss. Just take my word for it. It is doable. I've studied the papers, studied the work upon it. There have been studies and work done for this thing. NASA studies have been done that this is completely doable. We have technology of comparable level that we could adapt to achieve this. But anything, no more fuel. Oh, go ahead.
Brian, my recollection was that there has been that the technology that you're talking about that's already been figured out was to do this on Earth, to try to use one of these mass drivers to get the satellites from Earth into orbit.
There's all kinds of reasons that people have thought about doing it. There's electromagnetic fighter jet launchers, which is what the aircraft carriers use. So there's many military applications for this, and just a question of how much have we actually done upon it. But there have been studies, there have been equipment made to consider, can we make this work? And now it's not that much more than the magnetic levitation trains that we have. The track might be a bit longer. We need to accelerate a bit faster. Technologically, engineering-wise, a doable exercise.
Okay.
And then at that scaling, in terms of chip, we talked about how much of Earth power we talked about before, but it's how many chips, 10 billion chips per decade at the 1 terawatt level, 100 billion chips at the 10 terawatt level, and that 100 terawatt level that Elon talked about at the beginning, 1 trillion chips. So, that is about 100,000 times more than we have today.
Now, are you going to be able to get permitting on the moon to extract all this material?
Good thing is there is no permitting on the moon. Yeah, so it's good news. Good news. You can just get there and just do it because there's no one there to say you can't. And anyone who does say you can't, they have to say, well, come up to the moon and stop me.
Yeah, right.
So then here's some calculation about the token revenue, the trillions you can make. Highly speculative because we don't know how the pricing evolves. But the numbers should work out. But if they don't, then this thing does grind to a halt. If suddenly this becomes uneconomic for some reason, it will grind to a halt. The advantage of doing things on the moon is that in theory, it should be 10 times cheaper.
Hmm.
So then if I could only make $200 billion per year, and I thought I needed $2 trillion per year to do it, because the moon can do it so much cheaper, then you can make this keep scaling up because you kept lowering the cost.
Right.
Um, and then there's some comparisons about how much material that we use, because 1 trillion chips, 10 billion satellites is about a billion tons, right? Or several billion tons. We do make about 2.6 billion tons of iron ore per year, about 4 billion tons of cement that's in the center here. So that's the scale of civilization stuff we're talking about. We're going to, civilization scale, which again, if we're doing it on Earth, we'd have to double up, iron production or something like that. And it's just harder to do it here versus out there, where we move the dirty industry out to do it. But again, achievable, not, when you say, how much we're talking about, we have done it before if we really wanted to, if we had the economic reason. And then this is kind of like one examples of those solar panels next to people. And the thing is, the weight of this thing, because you'd have like 4 times as much as this solar panel for your version 3 satellite, right? And the whole satellite, including the panels and the chips and everything else, which is the most weight, only like 10% of your weight is the solar panels. This big thing is actually, the 6 guys could actually probably lift it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's you need to make it so that it's really light because you're launching it into space. So that is what we're talking about for that.
Okay, so plenty of reason for the excitement that's out there.
Hmm.
We talked about this on Wednesday night, but uh, uh, on the Moonshot program
Right.
with Peter Diamandis, he said their crew was making the point that nobody was talking about this 4 weeks ago, and that 4 weeks later, it's all everybody's talking about. And their enthusiasm was off the charts. They were so excited. Every single one of the people on the panel was talking about what this could mean and how fast it could be, and the fact that the science is basically solved.
Right.
That there's no big engineering challenge, at least
Hmm.
with regard to the first stages of this, getting these satellites into space, getting them, having them take advantage of the fact that it's cold in space,
Right.
so you don't need the amount of cooling, and that the apparently the technology is there for the radiating away of the heat. At least they think it is. I mean, there's
No,
evidence.
no, it's not.
It's
They think it is,
it's
because the Starlink satellites, with 10 kilowatts or with 20
right,
kilowatts,
right,
whether you use it for communication or whether you use it for compute,
mm,
you got electricity, it's generating heat, you got to get rid of it,
right,
right? Doesn't matter what I ran it through. I ran it through something, I
right,
generated heat
right,
at the level of 10 kilowatts or 20
right.
kilowatts, right? And the panels on the space station at the 150 kilowatt level, those are generating heat, you have to dump it off, right? So those are solved problems at those scales.
Got it. Okay, so now here's the question that I think I asked Grok earlier today, or maybe I was just reading about it. So much stuff every day that I can keep straight. One of the questions was in terms of batteries, that at low Earth orbit, you're only facing the sun half the time or 60% of the time, so you have to have battery storage in order to take care of that
You put them at sun synchronous orbit.
sense.
So it's another low orbit, but it's going at a particular. It's on the terminator. Say like you have the Earth night and day, the dawn dusk line,
Okay.
right? If you go around there, then you're always
Oh,
in sunshine, right?
I see.
So if you want to prompt your AI, sun synchronous orbits,
Unsynchronous. Okay. All right.
dusk dawn thing, and it can be different heights. It can be at
Oh,
500, it can be
okay.
at 800. So there's several layers, and you think, well, if I'm loading this all up, the orbits are bigger than the Earth,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So how many can I put around the Earth
Right.
and
A
not run
lot.
into each other, right? And then I have anywhere between 300 miles. So if I put a 5 mile gap at a layer between the
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
I can have one, two, I can have like 100 different layers of this thing, wrapping around the Earth 100 times, going like 1,000 wide around the Earth. So easily I can put all these satellites up there.
And so what about the business of which level of orbit would this also be advantaged by being in low Earth orbit where the latency would be less, or does that matter?
Um, some advantages for the lower latency with the closer orbit, but other factors could override whether you want to do that or not. A bit more technical as to what it is, I would say probably start off pretty low, 500 mile dish, higher than the communications because it's more important to have the 24-hour sunlight than
Mm,
it is to have a fast communication.
mhm.
Because I'm sending the question up, I'm going to think about it, and then I can answer you. The time it takes me to think about it is longer than the communication time. So yeah.
So then I'm gonna just spitball here because I don't know what I'm talking about. But if
Mhm.
you're putting those at a higher orbit, then you wouldn't want them to communicate the communications directly with Earth. So you would have the lasers between the satellites where any of this inference that was being produced on the communication side would go down to a lower level satellite and then be being
It's usually not that complicated because
okay.
if I'm sending a question over to the cloud,
Right.
the cloud is racks and racks of these things. So I have like a rack with say 100
Hmm.
chips in
Hmm.
it. It's actually 72, but it's 100, right? And then I got a data center with soon a million chips. So then I have 10,000 racks, right? If I send a question from ChatGPT into the cloud and it goes to that
Hmm.
rack,
Hmm.
it's going to go to one server. It's not going to, what's your question that the one server can't handle it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It may be some massive research question, I guess, but in general, one server will figure it out and they'll send
yeah.
back the answer,
Right,
right? So for inference, it's just talk to one, get back out. We're not going to be doing training in space
right,
for a while,
right.
right? Training means that I'll have the million chips, 10 million chips working together to
Hmm.
train up a new AI model.
Hmm.
That requires more precision. The errors that we're getting won't make that work. But for AI inference, the ChatGPT actually using it, the Grok actually using it, this will work. And the communication level is low. It's like I think of a question, I send it over to Grok, it thinks about it, it sends me back the answer, right? Most of the work is there, but it's not. It's only like um, you know, a million tokens. It's basically like a fraction of a second of one GPU to give me the answer.
Okay, all right. So, so what's this worth?
Well,
We got, so we got, so we got, we got Optimus, we've said is worth 25 trillion.
mhm,
We got Robotaxi, we said is worth 7 trillion
mhm,
as a market cap.
right.
So what is AI in space worth for SpaceX?
So let's just only go at the 100 gigawatt level,
Okay.
right? 100 gigawatt per year. Let's say we do that for 10 years. So we're talking about terawatt, right? So what's a terawatt of compute worth? Building it on Earth would be we're currently spending about $50 billion per gigawatt. So 1 terawatt is 1,000 gigawatts. That's worth about $50 trillion, right? And if we make it cheaper, then that would be, only half the cost, like at 25 trillion to build it. And then how much you're building it, you're presumably going to make more than it costs to build it.
Right.
So beyond that 25 trillion level, right? If I go to so that's something that we could get in the um, 2030s where we're generating that. So you'd be generating $5 trillion per year on a build of like, you know, 25 trillion over the years. So if I make 50 trillion per year, like 50% margin on it, right? Then, you're looking at, 2.5 per year stacking up towards 25 trillion per year toward the end, right? So that's the kind of growth as this thing stacks up. And then if we do the 10 times more, it's the 1 terawatt level, where we start getting some of the lunar stuff going. Oh, let's go to 300
Okay.
gigawatt level, the level that he was talking about. So that would be 7.5 trillion scaling up to about 75 trillion. right? So it would be rapidly bigger than even the bots, and it would be 75 trillion is just shy of the 100 some trillion that we have for our world economy now. So you're going to get double the world economy, which doubling the world economy in 10 years um, is basically the rule of 72, about 7% growth per
Oh,
year.
okay.
So then you're going to be going from 3%, 4% GDP growth
Yeah.
towards 10, 11% GDP growth just from adding this up.
And the
So
worldwide as well, and worldwide as well.
that'd be
Yeah,
worldwide. Yeah.
one of the most exciting parts of all of this, of course, whether it's Optimus or whether it's space-based data centers, is how it's going to lift up the poorest people in the world.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Whoops. I, I, I confused myself and I lost my other question. I had a great one.
Well, let me just go over
Sure.
the lunar-based version of it. So
Okay.
yes,
Sure.
it may take an extra decade or two, although that can come on fairly quickly. That is 1,000 times more than the level that we just talked about. So it's, you could be adding, let's say it takes 30 years to do
Yeah.
10x, 10x each decade. You're getting an extra sustainable 7, 10% GDP growth for 3 decades and maybe forever, right? Where you'll be growing at 10% for like 40, 50 years. So this is something that doesn't like, oh, I do it and then I stop.
Yeah.
It's like I do it and it keeps going and going. And it can go like for a couple of centuries before we run out of power and material in the solar system. So, and then that's not even including how much we improve the AI. It's not including, the constant improvement of the chips and stuff like that, which could add another layer to it. So it's the level of wealth and capability. It really unlocks and corks everything, but it gives a shape to what are we talking about for an AI energy really unlimited future growth scenario about how fast we can build this stuff out. So for people who just say once a singularity happens, we don't know what happens. It's very clear that once you just say it's all about energy and chips and compute, it's actually quite predictable. We can run the spreadsheet, we can kind of predict out, we can do the timing of what happens.
Yeah, and you just brought that up again. Like, okay, what are we going to do? What are humans going to do? What's our purpose going to be? What's the value of a human at this point? And that's why you need to read the book, is because in chapter 4 we talk about the jobs that we can think of right now, and I think you'll agree when you read it. The jobs that we can think of right now that humans will continue to do in bigger numbers than they're doing them now. I thought again, I'm always quoting. WTF or the moonshot, whichever brand you want to use. They have two brands. You're only supposed to have one brand. But they were saying the other day that radiologists, they thought was going to be the first group put out a bill. There would be no more radiologists because the computers now, right now, AI was one of the first things they did was use them to read the X-rays and MRIs, and they're better at it. They're like way better than a radiologist is at reading the charts. And so Peter said, no, what has turned out to be true is there are more radiologists than ever, because no radiologist ever went to school because he was hoping to read charts. What they wanted to do is save lives and make people well. And so having the boring part of it done for them makes them more successful, more efficient. And so there's actually an increase in the number of radiologists that are working today compared to 3 years ago.
Because they're giving the educated human interface to the knowledge and guiding you through the personal choices,
Right.
engaging with your emotions and helping you get the medical treatment and choices that you want to make so that you are healthier. Deliver the result of being healthier, longer lived, and feeling good about it. So we'll be helping each other to engage and like you will be more specialized in your one thing, but you will be guiding other people to the results. Yes, you'll be using a lot of help from the AI, but you need to know the topic in order to understand why, and for what purpose the AI is making the recommendation, right? So if you don't understand, one, you can learn fast, you can learn more and more about what to do, but you can and then understand what it is. But it's like if I don't understand what the question is, I can't make the AI give me the right result. If I can't say it needs to be sun synchronous orbit, right?
Yeah.
Then it can give you a wrong answer, and like you
Sure.
can't verify it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So in order to do it, you need people to understand and interpret the thing. And our ability to do that, all of us will get better and better at. Just like the beginning of the uh, personal computer age, virtually no one could use the spreadsheets. Those 1, 2, 3, it was very difficult to use. You couldn't understand it. Now we're all spreadsheet jockeys, but you have some guys who are more expert at it and being able to interpret and get more out of the results. But everyone's level of using a spreadsheet has gone up when before almost no one could, right? So you'll
I
still
saw, I
have the
saw, I
need.
saw this at my consulting. It was fascinating to me because here's all these guys, they know how to use a spreadsheet. This is like, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. They all know how to use a spreadsheet. They all get their results back from their bookkeeper showing them their profit and loss for the year. If they went to a little bit of trouble, they could have had been spreading them out like some of us probably do with regard to the companies that we're invested in. And then make some projections for what it's going to be next time. And none of them could do that. None. Zero.
Mhm. Right.
Out of 400 clients in 17 years. I mean, okay, maybe one or two of them, a few of them. I'm hyperbolizing, but I mean, literally, none of them were able to get to that level that would have been the smartest level that they could get out of the paper.
And the other thing is for each person to get to a level of trust and conviction to make the better decisions.
Yeah,
That AI could tell you something, a person could tell you something.
right,
But if I don't trust the person,
right.
if I can't believe, they can't walk me through it, I can't develop the conviction to make the decision.
Yeah.
So my analysis of this stuff, you know, early on it, I knew it was right. I knew enough to know this is guaranteed. I have now know this right going out many years. There's some level of variability on it, but I know it's right. So I can make decisions based upon it because I have certainty. I have certainty, relative certainty on the timing. I have a feel for what I'm discussing, right? So even if you have all the knowledge, if I'm if something being told to you, but you don't know whether to believe it or how much to believe it. There's a difference between 80% sure and 99% sure and 100% sure.
Right,
That, and also on the timing of it. If I know that's going to fit within this thing, and
right,
I'm willing to make the bet,
right,
commit to it,
right.
right? There's value in that, right? Like whether you double your money or whether you go only at 10% per year is because it's whether you have the conviction around it. It's like people who invest in the stock market. I can only invest in the index. I cannot trust anything else. I can only go with 7% per
Right,
year.
right, right.
I can't get myself to invest in Tesla.
Yeah,
Riding the volatility. I can't do it. Nvidia, those kind of things. It's like everyone's heard of those companies. They know all about it, but then can they get themselves to the point where I understand it
hmm
and I have conviction,
hmm
right? So that understanding, conviction, trust, those levels of things have real value. And you may need people to bring other people along where it's like, I want to do it. I want to do it with you. I want to do it together with you. I don't want to do it, that kind of consulting thing where you are working with your clients,
Yeah.
bringing them along. That they wouldn't be able to do it. In theory they could,
hmm
but because they don't have the, the trust and conviction that you can impart, that you can impart to them, they can't go along for the journey, right? So there's all the kind of value. And it's a longer topic to discuss, but that I think is the um, for people to make the right choices, other people need to be involved to help them get there.
Sure, sure, sure. So I have a weird question for you. When
Mhm.
do you think Elon Musk came to the conclusion that satellite-based data centers would be a thing?
I suspect about 6 months ago, it came onto his radar, and probably within a month, he was absolutely convinced about it. There were certain moves and other things, roughly that kind of time frame. There was another company, StarCloud,
Right. Right.
briefly called Lumina or something like that, had the idea. They bought a ride share
Right.
on SpaceX
Right.
Falcon 9.
Mhm.
So when you buy a ride share, you must submit engineering drawings so they know what is it that we're launching, will
Right.
it blow up or
Right.
not? And that got bubbled up to Elon in a hurry. Just like the direct-to-cell phone thing created by Lynx and AST Space Mobile, because Elon launches everything, he will then know, well, oh yeah, that's a nice thing to launch, fine. And then two things come up that are like, wow,
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
I already thought about other stuff, but now this I kind of thought about before, but I wasn't, again, conviction, understanding,
Yeah.
it brought him to conviction on it. And also Jeff Bezos saw that too.
Mhm.
So there's some videos from Jeff Bezos from a couple, 3 months ago where he says AI data centers in space will be the thing, and all AI centers will move there. He also probably heard the pitch from
Yeah.
StarCloud, from the
Yeah.
CEO and them. So they have videos going back a year. So it's possible that Elon saw it a year ago, but the fact that he may have been aware of it, he didn't get to the point of absolute certainty
Right.
until later. Probably he was canoodling about it when he started talking about, I want to think about how to get to 1 terawatt hour as fast
Yeah.
as possible,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So around there, if we find the exact data, that is roughly plus or minus a month where he figured that out.
Well, that's all I can think of. I'm sure that I could probably think way more, but I think we've almost got an hour in at this
Yeah,
point, and you've just explained to the folks that this is probably going to be five more programs over the next few weeks.
yes. Many, all the time. Yeah.
Well, Brian, say goodnight, Brian.
Good night, Brian.
It's been great talking to you.
Bye-bye.